Could you start on 2000 atmospheres? Maybe a fun map for the game to go along. If we get there, let's find out if we'll get the chance to. In the bottom left, our red Terran player from StarCraft to start it all off today. It is Cass.
His opponent, starting in the top right, playing as the Blue Protoss, representing Team Blaster, is Krystianer.
Yeah, big match for both of them. Just obviously Cast really trying to break away from being winless. And I think it's unfair if Cast goes winless again because I really feel like he is better than that. You know, he feels like he should be able to do more. But of course, with Krystianer, this is the sort of match he needs to win if he wants to finally break through into those playoffs. Absolutely,
yeah. The vetoes were the same here from Cast as they were when he played against Showtime. But yeah, that was a 0-2. And I think in game one in particular, like he was kind of behind because of the early, but he didn't do too bad. He just kind of clawing his way back into that game, but he was eventually just outclassed. On the other hand, Krystianer just yesterday played in the SL Open Cup. He met the Muslim in the round 128. And that was actually a 1-2 defeat. So maybe some content to study from Cass because we had a lot of different openers from Krystianer in that, and the Muslim managed to find success against those.
I know, look at Ben showing up to the ESL Open Cup, knocking out Krystianer. Why isn't he in the DreamHack qualifiers, Todd?
He should sign up.
I know.
Imagine the Muslim making a killing in the tournaments. He'd play it, then up until he loses, if he ever loses, and then he'd cast the rest. That would be amazing.
Double dipping on that tournament winnings, huh? Yeah, no, it was a fun series apparently yesterday between the Muslim and Krystianer. I think it'll be really interesting to see what then Cast does bring, and if Cast can bring the pressure, can put Krystianer in this place where he can sort of gain the momentum and give him a tough time. You mentioned that Showtime series that Cast played, and Cast genuinely looked fairly good there. It was just that Showtime was that little bit too good, and honestly, if it was anyone worse than Showtime, Cast would have had some good turning moments in that game, and would have probably been able to bring himself back into it a whole bunch. So yeah, some stronger early games especially maybe needed to just solidify early and to go from there.
Out of the Terran, I don't expect the build orders to get too crazy. As the Terran, you usually have to be the more reactive player unless you really want to throw in a bunch of proxies and stuff. So Cass, I expect him to play similarly to what he did against Showtime, but it's really for Krystianer to try and mix in different things. He's actually going to get rid of that one Reaper here, but not before losing 2 probes. Not the ideal start. I know I'd be pretty triggered to start the game with here. He opens Blink Stalker, which was scouted. I mean, the Twilight was seen here from Cass. Actually, no, he wasn't. I thought he was. How did he miss that?
Yeah, just not quite able to pick up on exactly what's going on. So that's a little bit of having to play in the dark. But then the Stalker's going to come forward, and you see that already kind of poking the front. So maybe you can become a little bit aware of it. And of course, soon when you don't see the fact that there's, when you see that there's no Stargate unit showing up to kind of harass you, that's when you can say, well, yeah, probably is a Twilight Cancel. Maybe you can't tell between Blink and a Dark Shrine, but you have a rough estimate of what you do need to then still deal with.
Maybe a bit of a mind game from Krystianer as well, in that he played with a Stargate when he played against the Muslim on this map, which was the final map of his series. Stargate into 3 gates Blink. So it seems like he's always going to rely on some sort of 3 gates Blink, no matter how he opens, even if it's some sort of, Dark Templar drop, which we've also seen from him when he played in Mirror against Showtime. He's capable of doing so many different builds, and I feel like it's always such a strength because you always have to keep the opponent guessing. If you can even force a single scan out of Cast, it's going to be pretty annoying for him. But as you said, now that there hasn't been any Oracle flying in, I think he should pretty much know where he's at.
Yeah, the one thing that he won't know so much about just yet is the fact that this is going to be 4 gateways of Blink. So this is not a faster third base. This is going to be pretty aggressive, but of course that's what the Widow Mine drop is going to start giving Cast information on. He'll say no third, and as he comes in here as well, he might be able to get the medevac through the main base and get a scout on the gateway count as well. That Widow Mine trying to force as much mine time lost as possible. And he gets 2 probes, and well, Natural Mineral Line was not mined for what, a good 10-15 seconds, so good damage done. I feel like Cass, you see the second bunker coming up as well, so he's just saying, right, yeah, let's get my defense ready to go. Make sure I'm not going to die to anything silly here, because he knows that this is going to be aggressive from Krystianer. So that mine drop giving him that information he needs to react properly.
Yeah, seeing the one Stalker here in the defense, which, by the way, that Medivac almost flew right into that, almost dying here. He was able to evacuate eventually. But yeah, Krystianer loves Blink Stalker aggression. Kind of known for that, so the 2 bunkers at the front, you know, it might seem like it's overkill, but actually it might be just the right amount. Krystianer is actually going for it.
Yeah, I think double bunker at the front is super important because it does just make the difference. He actually loses both of them, though. Typically, you're meant to have something which is able to then stop these Stalkers from pushing you. And you're like, okay, right, get away and just go again. But this is crazy. 2 bunkers, you get a siege tank kill as well. Yeah, you're meant to lose like 1 bunker at most. So now there's that real opening in this natural, and that's something that Krystianer can keep on pushing, and that might be Cast's biggest weakness now.
And there was an adept at the back as well, trying to snipe some of these SCVs. Krystianer, he's lost a lot of Stalkers, but getting rid of those 2 bunkers, the tanks, and now trying to trade. As long as he doesn't overextend, this is going to be fine here for him. Being able to kill 6 SCVs puts him ahead by 9 walkers. So not bad damage here achieved by the Protoss player.
Yeah, I really like what he's done. And of course, he keeps Cast so heavily pinned back as well. And you want to do this because you're taking your own 3rd base later than usual. It's on the way now. We'll wait to see what the tech is going to be from Krystianer as well. Typically, we've seen that Robobane going into Colossi, but we don't see anything for the moment. So he's still just sitting on pure Stalkers. And that's something I'd like to see him just move away from a little bit now, because he's got the control to tech up. And if he doesn't, he could just be running into more trouble than he needs to be.
Yeah, I think usually when he plays like this, it's always going to be charged, and he'll make 1 forge, go for some upgrades out of the 1 forge, and then Templar Archives for some Archons, and then just keep on macroing really well. Stalker's going really deep here. Is he just going to try to kill a bit more and then recall, or is he actually just going to try to evacuate?
I mean, a reasonable option, but I guess it's going to be tough to recall with all those bio units chasing you. Although no stim, I guess now he's going to get to kind of blink towards the natural. He's going to recall now because he kind of missed the blink, right? So all of his units got stuck in the main base, or half of them did, rather. And now the rest of these Stalkers on the natural still killing a lot of SCVs. He goes up by 20 workers, but his army, well, his army just sucks. You know, he doesn't have anything left. So charge on the way, and maybe Cast can get 1 big push just in time in combat shield to finish. And maybe this is going to be Cast's moment after taking so much damage up until this point.
It feels so bad for Cast not to have that steam here, because, you know, he could have chased and killed quite a bit with the extra move speed and kiting, but it's very unfortunate. Like, a lot of stuff escaped that felt like he almost shouldn't have been able to, and we see a lot of gateways behind this. I don't see Krystianer wanting to tech too much. He probably realizes he did a bunch of damage, and I think he's just going to make a ton of Zealots. He's not even going to try to go for Storm. I think just Archons. On that map, actually, in the final game against the Muslim, he was going up to 4 bases. The Muslim pulled all SCVs and then did a gigantic attack, which killed Krystianer because he fought too early. Maybe he didn't realize that the SCVs were coming as well. So maybe he still has that game in mind. And he's like, okay, no 4th base too early. I'll sack 1 base if I have to. I'll just get a ton of units, defend your attack, and then I've won the game.
Yeah, these Zealots are going to be absolute MVPs, I imagine, because there is a lot of Marauders in this army, which is great against the Stalkers, but they do not deal good damage against the Zealots. So the Zealots would probably be the most important thing right now. The Raven's still alive as well, by the way, and that's kind of a big deal too, right? Because if it can get an anti-armor missile on those Zealots, it will maybe give Cast a little bit more of an opportunity to truly move through that.
Cast is being very patient. I think he knows that defensively Krystianer is fully ready, so it's a lot about, you know, moving out, being present out on the map, and making sure you snipe like the 1 or 2 observers that you expect will be there a lot of the time, and then maybe before you can finally go into a drop. But in fact, there is no observer out on the map right now, so not much vision for Krystianer, but he's using his Stalkers beautifully to gain information on where the current player is. Actually loses 2 Stalkers here, a little bit sloppy.
Yeah, he's going to lose 1 more to the right side as well. That was kind of meant to be there just watching, but then maybe he could have blinked it back to save it too. Yeah, I mean, like you say, no observer, but he's using the rest of his units so well, it makes up for the lack of an observer. And that's cool because it's allowed him to just pump out Immortals. And we just mentioned how many Marauders there were in the army. Immortals are going to be great against that, as themselves did make their way all the way up into the main, and they're just going to fight a couple of drops that came back home to defend instead. At the same time, we're pushing on the right-hand side. Cast is already backing away from this fight a little bit. Anti-armor missile somehow managed to hit more of Cast's units than they did the Protoss units. That's an interesting move, as these Zealots are putting in the work, and the Stalkers will focus via Medivacs down, and he will even get... Whoa, no, he doesn't get the one that had units in still. That was low HP. He's Cast going to drop here. I'm still not convinced he'll do that much, and good fight from Krystianer. You just see the value of those Zealots and the Immortals against the Marauders.
He has to recall, actually. because there was too many units here. That one single warp in alone wasn't enough. Like we're very low on upgrades on Krystianer's sides. There isn't even a forge that was made. So he's 0-0 against 1-1. That was a very, very difficult defense here for him, in that like he lost a lot of units. But he's still ahead in supply thanks to that way quicker third than Cass's, which is not ready and in position, but he has to worry about the units at his front door. It's just the 2 Immortals and 2 Stalkers, but actually not doing too bad right now.
Yeah, it feels like Krystianer just needs to get everything joined up together, and Cass doesn't have like a lot of units here on the natural, right? Just a handful of Marines, good split against these Widow Mines, and that's going to minimize the damage he'll take. I really feel like Krystianer, yeah, because so many of these units are in these medevacs, he gets one of the low HP ones that finally goes down, and it was full. But now Cass has all of the units here. It took Krystianer too long to create the fight on this position. He's going to go for it again anyway. Zelda going to charge forward. The first Widow Mine targeted down before it can go off. The other one is still just messing around at the back, not doing much. Krystianer taking all of these fights without any upgrades, though. So he is lacking there. It seems as though the firepower is just too much anyway. And with 3 Archons showing up, that completely tilts the scales into Krystianer's favor.
Yeah, Cass's aggression played right into Krystianer's hand. He was counting on Cass to attack. And by not going for upgrades, he was able to make so many units that he defended. And the counter-attack will take Cass out. Cass is still in a lot of trouble here in this tournament.
Yeah. This is, yeah, that one drop actually ended up, like you're saying, doing so much more than I originally thought it would. It just had that little bit more power than initially expected. And it did seem to put Krystianer in some trouble, but then it just felt like Cass still never got those units back home. And even when he did get them back home and joined up, they still were never out of the medevacs. They never got any healing, right? So they were just coming into the fight on half HP. And it felt like all those things were just part of the issue. And like I say, the moment like 3 extra Archons show up too, it's like, oh, well, Cass has nothing to deal with that amount of tech, right? 3 Immortals and 3 Archons in the same army. And that's where obviously things really did just go Krystianer's way, as he will start off 1-0 in our first match of the day.
It just anticipated beautifully what was going to happen with the counter-attack. I'm pretty sure that if Cass would know that there's no Robo-Bay on the way, there's no Storm, and no upgrades, he'd just sit back, drop down a Ghost Academy and say, okay, well, I'm going to make a couple Ghosts, I'm going to perfect the MPs and wreck your army. But you can't know about these things. You can't be everywhere, seeing the whole map. Even if you scan, like, you might miss it. So he just did the normal thing, where you're supposed to counter-attack, try and deal some damage. And yes, he traded units, but as long as you don't lose any probes, as Krystianer here, you don't really care. Like, he just had a far better production. Cass never mined from his 3rd base this entire game. Krystianer wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, that's like the real key of this game, right? Because Cass just... In a way, Cass wasn't taking bad fights. He had the upgrade lead and stuff too. But then, because he just couldn't build as much as Krystianer was able to build all game long, that's where he really fell behind. It's that 3rd base. So much pressure from Krystianer kept him off there. And you know, when he finally said, oh, he's finally got his 3rd base landed, well, it was still a situation of, yes, the 3rd base is landed, but Krystianer has the whole army at the front door ready to take a fight, so he's not even comfortable to mine there. So yeah, no, it was one of the things I think Krystianer did really well to make sure that he was going to be able to maintain that lead.
I'm impressed by Krystianer, honestly, what he's been able to do in this tournament here, being up 2-1 in score in this group, this very tough group, and now doing well against Cass. Could be one of the big surprises here if you manage to advance. Of course, it's still very early, and you know, this is where sometimes we've seen players kind of crash and burn and then just lose to everybody else and not make it, but he's looking really good. I mean, I'm very impressed with him.
Yeah, no, I'm really believing in him this season. That win against Showtime, I know I've said it a couple of times now, but I think that is such a motivational win. You know, then you can say, right, this is my opportunity. Let's not mess it up. Maybe then the pressure gets to you or so, but he's been here a few times before now. And so far, not cracking. And like I say, he's putting up a good run to potentially make playoffs in what is genuinely a difficult group as well. Like, there are a lot of favorites to make top 4 in this group. And Krystianer now being one of them means we are likely to see like a fan favorite like maybe Mana or Hearthstone not make it through. So that's kind of something to keep in mind as well as this group plays out. In the top left-hand side, our blue Protoss player is Krystianer.
His opponents in the reds, representing Ukraine and Team Starcom, it is Cass. Cass with a very flowery room there. Very uncommon for a gamer, I feel like. Where's the flowers in your room, Wally?
I know, I've got all this like StarCraft stuff. Like, who cares, man? Get the flowers in here. Get the greenery up and running.
We're gonna get a Lego flower next time.
Lego flower.
You know, these two are super evenly matched, by the way, record-wise against one another. It's 17-15 in Cass's favor in series and 44-41 in maps. So I think it reflects pretty well how, you know, even they've been in the past. But right now, it definitely does feel like Krystianer has a lot more momentum in this tournament.
Is out of those, did Cass win like a lot of them first, and then Krystianer's won more recently, or has it always kind of been like back and forth?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's kind of how it is. The new guard this year, Wadi, taking over. By the way, speaking of last names, did you see Krystianer's last name? Like somebody should try and say this.
I did not actually. Is it a good one?
Oof, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's probably one of the hardest ones to say. Like, there's a bunch of, you know, SZ and stuff in there. Like
that is a heck of a start. An SZCZ at the start of the name. And if that's not enough, then there's an E with a squiggle under it. I mean, it's getting wild.
Good luck with it.
Yeah, I'll stay away from that one, I think.
On Lightshade, Krystianer recently, when he played against the Muslim, just yesterday, he did I almost want to say weird build in that he put his Robo in the wall at the Expo and then went Dark Shrine. But then he kind of got caught off guard by the Muslim's trademark move out and attack, which Rotty also struggled when we were in Sweden when he faced the Muslim, and he ended up taking too much damage and just kind of dying. So I wonder if Cass, you know, has seen those games, he's going to take that in consideration, maybe go the extra mile with the scouting. I feel like if you see a Robo in the wall, you already should be a little bit wary of that possibility.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one to watch out for as our Adept moves by, and that's a delayed command center. So even though you've invested into a bunker, your CC is now not building. That kind of sucks because you spend 100 minerals and you still can't really deal with the problem. The good news is Hellions are about to pop out, and Hellions are pretty good at dealing with these Adepts at least. So obviously the bad news then for Cass, though, is that Krystianer now knows, oh, Hellions, so he gets the idea of the possibility at least of, hey, this could be a Hellion drop, obviously. So that's one of the things we'll watch out for now, and that's obviously what we are going to see with that starport proxied in the upper right.
Yeah, that was a great handling here of this aggression by Cass, I gotta say. Like, he pulled back the SCV just on time every time he needed to when he was moving to the wrong side while building. And we see Krystianer putting some effort into scouting nearby his base. He wanted to make sure the starport was not very close by. He even drops down a pylon for vision. I love this kind of place. Whenever I was a pro player and did that, people always killed all my pylons, and I was like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah, they never paid off for you, they just died.
Yeah, and then I did shortly after. At least I had vision and I didn't lose to a drop. Actually, I was terrible against drops as well.
Well, let's see what Krystianer can do. I think Krystianer's going to be pretty terrible against this drop. Their Stalkers are on the way, but they're just taking a while to get there. Good pro block, actually going to hold one of the Hellions back. And that's big, because one Hellion died pretty quick, so keeping the other one back stopped you from getting to that kind of 3 Hellion one-shot potential. Oh, no, 2 more. Wow. Yeah. That's nice.
It's a disaster. 15 probes have already gone down. And Cass, perhaps, I'm seeing the hope, man. I predicted the 2-1 for him. Like, this is a great start here. 31 walkers to 23 now. Of course, those Hellions are finally going to get pushed back. And now, Krystianer is the one that has the opportunity to counterattack. He's on 4 gates. There is so much incentive for him now to just go across the map with a prism, warp in a lot of stalkers, and try and find the same damage that he had last game, I guess.
Yeah, the rough part for Krystianer is just going to be the fact that obviously those workers have gone down, so it's more difficult to afford the stalker count that you'd want to be warping in across the map. And at the same time, there's now this Liberator coming through the top side, and that's something which Krystianer will have to warp in defensively to defend. So I just don't know if he's going to have that much power. He wanted to build a Dark Shrine there, and he runs away because of the Liberator showing up. So we can see that he's definitely feeling the need to get some damage done. As that Liberator actually has to take a turn, will go down. So at least he shuts this down quickly, so he can now fully focus on that necessary attack on the other side.
Yeah, I love that Krystianer is one of those Dark Shrine guys, by the way. I'm such a big fan myself. Like, when I watch his games, I'm like, my man, every time. He does it against Protoss, he does it against Terran. But yeah, here, if he gets spotted, it just feels like it's kind of useless. Then again, you could let it finish, not make any DT, and then you'll know that Terran might overreact sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's always a good tool, right? If you can get by with the investment without it kind of punishing you or something. A couple of SCVs going down. Krystianer is obviously pretty deep into this base. He kind of checks forward with one Stalker there to see what's up, but he's in range of attack still. Now he will just sit in the back and not be in range, but it's only a matter of time, surely, as he warps in more stalkers. I guess we're about to go for this one Zealot to take the initial tank shots, and we're going to go dive forward, and he's going to go just as the other tank unsieged. The SPV's actually surrounding the Marines, but yeah, the 2 tanks go down, so now it's just bio units, a couple stalkers in the natural as well.
Yeah, those 2 in the natural, they could have actually done way more damage if you moved them a bit more to the right, but now one of them engaged into the bunker. But they did find some damage. That's 11 SCVs going down, and exactly what Krystianer needed to come back on the economy side of things here.
Yeah,
it was struggling a bit with the defense.
Yeah, no, that was it was such a weird situation because the stalkers feel like they're stuck, and Cass like, okay, well, obviously I bring my other tank forward, and it just so happened that it lined up to be the perfect time for Krystianer because he's just in that moment moving forward to kill the tanks. Then he only has to deal with one of them, kills the tank here, but obviously that's where the double bunker comes in. A stray medevac goes down. Krystianer really is taking control back in this game. The only thing that'll be an issue is obviously he's still pretty committed to Blink Stalkers, and now all of those Terran upgrades are coming through. I really want to see charge starting sometime soon, because without charge, I don't know if he can really deal with a big bio attack.
And he goes for the Dark Shrine here first and foremost. Dude, I love this Krystianer guy. he's got the blinks of patience, the Dark Shrines of Fear Dragon. He's a super soldier, man. He's got all the best qualities of everybody.
He's the super Protoss. He has everything anyone ever needs. Yeah, no, it is kind of a bit of everything. You're not wrong. I like this prism. It's empty. It's more of a check than anything else. And look at it. It's forced to stim. It's being chased down. And there was never any actual threat there. And if you saw the opportunity, maybe you could have done something at the front at the same time. So, yeah, there's that charge on the way. The extra gateways. We really do start to build into what was such a similar situation to game number 1. Big question just being this time is, does Krystianer have the army to defend Cass's first push? And if he does, then he's really well set up because it's 3 bases against 2.
Yeah. And I feel like this is often the way the games go for Cass, where he can do some good things here and there, but then he ends up being stuck on 2 bases for a very long time. So he's entirely relying on those pushes here to kind of win the game or put him ahead. And now we got the DTs being warped in on the other side. Cass absolutely not ready. He does have a lot of energy banked up on his orbital commands though, but he has some units near the wall here.
The energy is really important because he needs to have scans on the offensive as well. Otherwise, Krystianer will just defend with DTs. So that's going to be a really big deal as first few scans going down. Obviously, though, I mean, scans going down right now means, again, less scans on the other side of the map. If Krystianer wants to use a DT defensively, that bio army has just moved up the ramp. Robo facility goes down right away. And we have a drop in the back of the natural as well. So Krystianer is in a lot of trouble already. And this was always going to be his issue. Can he find a way out from this? I just don't think he can. It looks a little bit too much from Cass.
Yeah, even that one medevac gets away here while the Marines unpower some of the gateways in the main base. Krystianer needs a lot of units. And he's only on 5 gateways, I guess, at least. But yeah, Cass having banked that many scans, dealt with the DTs pretty well.
Yeah.
He killed 27 probes and he's far from done here with his army in the main base.
Yeah, it's just going to go on. And at this point, Krystianer, this was always going to be his issue, right? Having the proper army to deal with this. And even though he did good damage to get back on the economy, his army was always lacking. And yeah, I mean, maybe if Cass hadn't had so many scans, the DTs would have been really, really good, because then, like you say, you can't necessarily keep on attacking if you've just got a DT swiping at you all day long. So yeah, it's actually well played by Cass, and in this case, it's just going to mean that those DTs would have been better off being something like more Zealots or so. But yeah, obviously too late to change that now, as Krystianer really does not have a lot left. This drop is still ongoing. Sentry goes down, these few Stalkers probably going to fall, and Cass has 62 to 10 army supply, and that is going to be GG's in a few moments, I'm sure.
Even defensively, having as many scans as he did made sure that he could defend easily. Imagine if he had like almost no energy, because there was no turrets ready either. So he would have started losing a lot of SCVs. And then even if Krystianer took damage on the other side, as long as he dealt as much or more, he would have been fine. But yeah, the counter DTs in the base of Cass didn't do too much, and Cass's aggression killed so many probes. I mean, this game, how many economies did he kill? He's killed 49 probes in total this game.
Yeah, he's had zero chill when it comes to making sure that Krystianer cannot afford anything anymore. As Cass 1-1 upgrades, moving up this ramp, an army that should not be stoppable. He's got a DT running to his main base, but Krystianer sees the army and says GG. And Cass will take game number 2 to tie us up here and to take us to that game number 3. and obviously just looked a lot better in this game. And it all came down to that early game, getting those Hellions and doing just so much damage with them. Really just put Krystianer on the back foot, and from there, Cass was able to do everything needed to make it play out. Still struggled a bit on the defense, but not so much that lost him the game.
Cass didn't need to look at the supply, man. He just looked at that last army. He was like, all right, that's it. I'm out of there. Impressive game from him, I gotta say. That was very, very well done. But, you know, if you lose the last map, it was all in vain. So Cass, now is the time to, you know, stay in it. Give it your best game. We're going to be heading to Oxide for map 3. And hopefully he can start doing a little better here in this tournament. Because, again, you know, if he was to go 0-7, 2 DreamHacks in a row, that'd be very, very sad. Of course, like one of the more appreciated players that we have in Europe. Cass has been around forever.
Yeah. Oh, he's been around since before I was in StarCraft 2. That's he's been around a long, long time. And yeah, no, it would be nice to see him picking up some wins. It would be so typical of... It's almost like that. If Krystianer loses, can you imagine? It's like you beat Showtime, but then you lose to Cass. I mean, that's 2 completely different ends of this group. And it just makes the rest of your life so much more difficult moving forward. And that's absolutely one which will, like I say, we got to start talking about playoff races, right? Because we're going to have people going to the playoffs at the end of this week. These are the final few matches they're playing in the groups. These games mean a lot. And so Krystianer, he needs to win this, I think, to have an easy route to the playoffs. Otherwise, he's going to have to put in some serious work against some of the other Protoss players in Group A.
All right, let's go right into it. Here we're on Oxide, starting in the top right-hand side of the map, playing for Team Blazer, or Blazer. It's Krystianer.
Bottom left-hand corner is going to be the red Terran player from StarCom. It is Cass.
You prefer saying Blazer or Blazer? Are you a potato or potato guy?
I'm definitely a potato guy. I guess that makes me a Blazer guy.
Yes. That would be weird if it was the other way around for the team name, for sure. On this map, Krystianer, when he played against the Muslim, he did a Zealot plus Adept rush into 4-gate blink. And then he defended the initial aggression and then counterattacked. And that was the one map that he won. So I'm curious whether Cass is aware of that and if he tries to make any adjustments himself to maybe not play aggressive in the first place. It seems like it's Krystianer's style. You know, he'll defend in the first place against when he needs to, and then he'll counterattack, which is a great way to play.
Yep. And he likes to just sort of get up that kind of massive units as well, right? Not super tech heavy, just a lot of stuff. And that obviously helps you to overwhelm an attack and then to surge forward and create your own attack off of that defense. So absolutely is in kind of what we've been seeing too, right? Like lots of units, no upgrades especially. So really looking to overwhelm more so than out tech or anything. And many players, or not a lot of Protoss players, always play like this nowadays. As I was alluding to in some of the early games, we see a lot more of those Colossi and sometimes those Storm upgrades, but that's just been a foreign concept to Krystianer in this series.
Just wants gateways, man.
Yeah.
It's the next generation Huck.
It's like, hey, well, you see the Robo Bay, it costs gas, but a gateway is only minerals, so think about it. And they both build units, Todd. So
keep it simple, back to basics, you know? Just gates, you make units, you profit.
Man, I remember when the big gateway styles first came around. I think it was Pod and Crib, like a one. You kind of went like 1 gate, 3 base, and then you would go like 9 gates off of it. And it was like disgusting. And it was, and now it's like a core idea in the PvT build orders.
Yeah, it's like when force fields were almost like uncounterable. Like they were the best thing in like Wings of Liberty. So there were so many like 8 gates builds and attacks with force fields and Guardian Shield and stuff. Thank God the meta is different now. I think it's so much better.
Yeah, well, I mean, those days of just like 8 gate all-ins and like, do you hit the 2 force fields you need to? Yes, you win. No, you get overrun. It was not pretty.
So Cass saw these Stargates, but he had to lose his Reaper for it, which is very unfortunate because that means no follow-up scouts. Then again, against Stargate, usually you kind of know, you know, like what's coming. It's like usually 2 Oracles, at least at first, maybe 1 sometimes. And against that, Cass, he does Cyclone, like 2 of them, and he'll add a Viking. Is usually, I think, the way he goes about countering this, and he'll try and defend and build up his army and then go for an attack. But the third base is the thing with Cass that I feel is always like really delayed in those games.
Yeah, no, his third has been a problem for sure. And it's not weird for the Terran to be behind on a third base, but he's way behind on a third base when Krystianer is late to a third base as well, right? Which is concerning. And especially in a game like this one where Krystianer finally just goes 3 base nice and quickly and doesn't mess around too much. This is why I wonder, when does Cass manage to get his third down? Does he manage to get it down? I mean, a lot of it comes from the fact he just wants to play very aggressively, and that's fine, but there's playing aggressively and having a good backup plan and a good, economy behind it, and there's playing aggressively and just sort of having one attack and you're going to die trying. So I'd like to see Cass have a little bit more of a founded fallback. So we'll see if he manages it this time. Obviously, Krystianer, Oracle just dancing around. He is going into multiple Phoenix, but there won't be too many Phoenix. Twilight and the Forge already on the way up, so maybe just a couple, 2, 3 to help control early, help deal with some initial harassment, and otherwise he's ready to go into that charge and +1, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it could be Blink as well. Like, we've seen so many prototypes. He's such a fan of Blink. Like, personally here, if I was in his place, I'd probably prefer Charge because, he's going to go up to 3 bases quickly. He could start adding more gases, go Templar Archives. Let's see in a few moments what he'll go into. And if you're Cass and you play an opponent that, hasn't been upgrading a whole lot and, just waiting for you to attack and counter attack, there's some big adjustments that he can make. But of course, Krystianer could also adjust very well. Ooh, the Widowman actually gets the Oracle here out on the map. So a big loss for Krystianer, who cannot even use any more Revelations after this. But yeah, I was going to say, he could just play a little bit more turtly than usual, add Ghost, and then try to fight later. But I think he's probably one of those Terrans that's like really afraid of the late game, which, I mean, every Terran is scared to death of like the maxed out army and stuff, except maybe Maru.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that one. That just Cass he's not that kind of player to me. He's that mid game player. He's that bio and mass bio unit player, and and dropping all over the place. So plenty of Phoenix, by the way, more than I was expecting. Honestly, he's gone up to 5 now. Adds on a lot of gates. Still building those Phoenix. So kind of going for that idea of Phoenix charge, and the Phoenix can help to lift up the units that the charge lots don't deal as well with. And what you do really get out of this is that charge lots are very good at making the Terran army turn tail and run away. But then the Phoenix can obviously lift up units while you're trying to run away, and that's when you can actually make this a very successful combo. So something to watch out for in some of the future fights.
It just feels like Cass reacts a little too slowly to everything whenever he's being attacked, whether it's like, some Adepts, some Stalkers earlier, or even now, like the Phoenixes flying in. Like, he's moving his units after they actually fly in and start doing like actual damage. Whereas, like, if you look at higher caliber Terrans, they would execute this a little bit. It kind of almost reminds me of like some of my own games long time ago. I always struggled against this type of like, small harassment, Phoenixes flying in sometime in PvP. And then I remember when I watched Neeb play, like, this guy's movement against Phoenix was like so flawless. You could never fly in and actually kill stuff, or you'd have to lose Phoenixes. So it kind of feels like that's what ends up making a difference. Even though right now in supply is doing well, the third base is again super delayed compared to that of Krystianer, which maybe is standard, but I don't think it should be necessarily that delayed, right? Because he doesn't even make it on location.
Yeah, it would be nice if he had it like moving down, like sort of now as he starts to be aggressive. This drop is going to get into a cool place in the back. The Phoenix started to lift one of the units up. The Zealots do struggle to get there. I mean, I kind of wish the Phoenix would just get rid of the Medivacs. They're so low, and you'd get rid of the healing, which would only make life easier for the Zealots. So the drop does get dealt with. I mean, nice to deal with it. Obviously, it was still able to do some damage. It's kind of a bit of an in-the-middle situation as we do see Zealots charging on the left side. Widowmine's, though, going to go off. Krystianer still feels like he just has plenty to deal with this, though, and Cass still doesn't have that third in position. It's still just finishing building.
At this time, Krystianer is playing a lot more tech-heavy with the Robo Bay. He has double Robo ready to start producing this Colossi 2x2 on the third base. And he's not quite rushing a fourth base, which I like. He's making sure he gets enough units here at first. And he still doesn't have an observer. I cannot believe this. I always feel like you need like one observer, you put it outside the natural around the third base so you can time that. But I guess he's just been so active out on the map with those Phoenixes, he knows exactly he needs to know anyway.
Yeah, he's just super confident about his setup, right? He's just fully believing what he's got going for himself, and I don't really blame him in that regard. I think he's definitely got himself just a lot of... He's always been the player who's on the other side of the map, right? He's never really been caught off guard, apart from maybe like the Hellion drop in game number 2. Yeah. But he's never been caught off guard by like a drop or like an army movement of Cass. So I can appreciate that he just, yeah, I feel like he needs them too, but he's shown us that he kind of so far hasn't really needed them.
I wonder if Cass might do a timing here, pre-thermal lens, but I don't think he will necessarily know about the Robo Bay. And also, oh, he missed the second Robo. So he thinks there's just the one right now. I feel like if he knew, if he could look at everything, like the production tab, and he would see like thermal lens, you know, he's not even midway through done, I'm pretty sure he'd move out now and he'd try to be really aggressive. But now he's trying to counter a very heavy gateway unit army, it looks like, right? With just like pure bio and widow mines, like Charlottes, Archons, Stalkers.
But double widow mine hits on the 2 Phoenix, and that's 2 kills. That was nice, but yeah, a few SCVs going down. Yeah, these Colossi are just going to be something that Cass has zero answer to. Widow mines, basically you're hoping that you can overwhelm and just push through and kill the Colossus, but that just doesn't happen against 4 Colossus. Like, basically never. You have to have such a good fight for that to be a thing. And, well, Cass is kind of coming forward like he wants to fight here. Krystianer should just get back. He even went to 5 Colossi, so he actually has a lot of splash damage available, and you will just see Cass's army melting across the board with this. And you can just, I mean, yeah, there's no answer to Colossi. You need something against Colossi when your opponent's made this many of them.
And that was without thermal lens. Thermal lens is now about to finish. Great micro by Krystianer, by the way. Like, he was losing a lot of zealots. The Colossi were about to be exposed, so he pulled back for a second. He's getting double observer. And Cass is trying to find some damage here. He's trailing behind his supply. He needs to kill all of these probes, and he needs to be able to get out immediately after. There is no blink, remember. So the chasing potential is not that massive here for Krystianer, who also doesn't necessarily have a lot of stalkers just yet. I'm sure he's going to work on that. And Cass is just going to tap out. He sees no way to do